Hello, everybody. Welcome to my podcast, Launching to the Deep. And today we're going to be interviewing Jerry Ward. Man, he did 49 years in prison. This man got a well of knowledge, man. Y'all open your ears, open your hearts to hear his story. Let's get right into it. Jerry, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your upbringing?
Glad I will, and it's an opportunity to give you and share with you some of the things about my lifestyle. I came up with a great family, a home for mother and father, very well. And in that process, I learned some things about living life that in the latter years that we'll go to, in the former years going ahead, that was unexpected to me. And but I came and went to school. My father was a very strict discipline about being knowledgeable. He said knowledge was power, and he was very stern about me getting knowledge. And so I came up in that process. And then, as you know, in the days in America, in that day back then, society structure, it began to deviate. Once I went going out into the world as a from an adolescent stage, and seeing the world from that perspective, and having that out view from the outside of the home, I seen things that started having me deviating because I didn't know society was the way it was, because I had been home protected from a good parental guys, a good family bearings and stuff. So once I got out to the world out there, I was kind of out there naked. I was out there empty, if I may say that, not knowing that our society was the way it was. So this is one of the things that kind of contributed, was conducive to my going out and becoming somewhat delinquent, in the sense that I wasn't a guy that did a lot of wrong things, but I started this going outside the process of being home restricted and home protected and parental guidance protected, as I had been up to those 13, 14 years of age. And when that happened, society bombarded me with things I wasn't really ready for as a very young adolescent.
Okay, now, Jerry, you did 49 years in prison. How old were you when you went to prison?
I was 18, I went to prison.
What led you into the path of the life of crime?
Well, actually, what happened then, things that really started in our lifestyles, want to have other things. And culturally, my parents believed that you worked for what you wanted, and I did. I went from paper boy to junior salesman, had a job. I was very responsible. Also, I had other desires. I started wanting to have other things, and started with things I seen that was being exposed to that wasn't under my control materially. And so I started doing little delinquent things. And next thing I know, I'm doing one from one level to the next level. You go from stealing, the robbing, to the drugs, and the whole culture scene. And it's sad to say, but even to announce this, I feel sad about it. But the truth be told, it was, and it is what it was. And it led me into other things. And as it led me to other things, I began to denounce my direction that my parents wanted me to be. They wanted me to be a professional. They wanted me to go to college. They wanted me to be academic. And truth be told, if I give or take what my destiny given me, if I had stayed the course, surely I could have been a professional. Surely I could have been a lawyer. Surely I could have been a professor in other fields, of school and everything, a teacher maybe. So I deviated. Yet, after going into the criminality mindset and activity, it became so unexpected, the things that are going to occur in my latter young life, that it overwhelmed me. And so I ended up being incarcerated, facing death row. I ran to racism. I ran to deep southern racism. It was like, and I said, I embarked on a journey that was unexpected to me. I didn't see it coming. And as a very young person at that time, it was too, again, where I said, it was too overwhelming for me to maturely handle. And I was supposed to be the guy that went out and handled the situation, been spoken for a situation at a service station. And it just broke, all hell broke loose. And I ran, like I said, I ran to blatant racism in Deep South, because it is what it was. And they try to make it seemed to me like we was going to be robbing people, and that's it, but it was not that at all. Even at that time, we had fought for the money as young men. We said coming up from the hustle we had, but we came out because people had damage and car of one of the guys I came up with and went to school with, and they had jumped on him and beat him up at a service station that was serving our community. All the people that go to work and after this that does the work and does the hotel working and all that, they made most of their profit from our culture. And so it was so surprising that they was in our vein, in our proximity, our community, having that type of racism. And so that's where I got my body with. And like I said, again, coming out of society at the young age, not seeing it in my home, because racism was not in my home. You couldn't hate nothing in my house. You couldn't hate the greens. You couldn't hate the okra. You had to say, I disfavor it, I dislike it, I detest, but you could never say hate. or that was like a form of chastisement, military. You hate nothing. So hating people was never in my household. Never. It was something that it was revealed to me once I stepped outside the household and seeing how our culture, our society was a wreck that have of having indifferent to who we were as people.
What was the charge that led you to do 49 years?
To be truthful, and I said, and I always apologize in my prayer life because the biblical Bible said we are thou shalt not kill, and it always been on my heart that I regretfully took the life, and I always will ask for forgiveness. Today I'm no longer here on earth, and there's a process that from what I was raised in my faith, my family faith. I come from a family of preachers, they ordained, and so we always speak about forgiveness. The programs I've come through speak about forgiveness, and I always ask for forgiveness for that process. However, the 49 years and 5 months and 11 days and so many hours, it was spent with me trying to learn two forms of life. Like I said, I embarked on a journey that was unexpected as a young age, 18, and it happened to me so unexpectedly. One early morning before I can remember just having breakfast and leaving out. And the next thing I know, two men killed. And so it was like, wow, who does that first thing in the morning at 18? But in my life was like going in a direction where I'm supposed to be like in another 2 years, I'm in school, college, I'm on my way. And give and take, criminality, they started downplaying. I got away from start downplaying criminality. Had a couple of good jobs, and so it was like I was growing, but who knows what my destiny was dictating. And so I couldn't tell you how and why it ended up being the way it was. But that early morning, it happened that way. And fear. I want to speak about fear. Some people don't never give fear its due justice. Fear is one of the strongest emotions that we have. There's nothing stronger than our fear emotion. So you sometimes say, oh, you don't know what you can do when you're afraid. And I want to sit here and tell you, not by bravado, but out of fear, I reacted.
So the reason why you did what you did was because the person that you killed had you in fear? Like, did y'all have an altercation? What was going on?
Yes, well, what happened to just give you a quick synopsis of the situation, if I may, and to even recount it, it's painful because you had to relive it every day of your life, especially when you took life. Again, I want nobody to say that enough, in heartfelt remorsefulness. The fact was, I was supposed to be the spokesman to go and speak to the people about the damage. This guy there was one of my buddies. We was going to Mid Florida Tech at the same time, and I was having class. The Sheridan Twin Tower was sending me the school there for hotel motel where I was going to be affirmative action. I was going to be one of the first black that had the NCR national cash register machine they had put in the computer in the hotels at that time, and I had got hired, and they was paying me to go to school at Mid Florida Tech for those classes. But he had classes at all mechanic, so we come out of the neighborhood together, had been to elementary school together, had went in high school together. He had played good football and everything, so we was like riding buddies. And so that morning, all the time, I actually was living with my sister at the time. I happened to just be so high destiny. I happened to stop by my mother's and father's home, which I hadn't been there a good while. And I had always had my house key. And I stopped there and I said, well, I came from hanging out that Sunday night, which was Monday morning case happened. And I said, I'm gonna stop by some mother and father. I'm not gonna ride way out with my sister because she lived way out by Disney. I said, I'm gonna ride out and stop by my mother and father's house and sleep the night there. And all I can tell you from there, it went unraveling. I got up the next morning to walk around my old neighborhood, Richmond Miami was, and started visiting. I'm gonna rock around my neighborhood and see some of the guys and everything. And to be true, I said, well, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I said, I'm gonna go see one of these young girls and catch them at the school bus stop and try to bring them to the house and stuff of that nature. And that's how that was gonna be. That's how I really created it. And with me walking in the foot on the ground, walking, I ended up to one of the houses. But I was telling this how destiny seemed to keep putting the puzzles, the places together that it just unfolded. I had a premeditated plan to go take somebody's life. It was not at all. That's the least and the last thing I wanted to do. Still feel that that's the least and last thing that was on my mind. But it unfolded that way. So when I did go to one of the houses and seeing one of the guys, they was home from spring break. They were older than me. And so I stopped by one of the houses, and while we were at the house, the guy arrived that he had got whipped up at the service station. He had got dressed. He looked so gross text. When you see him, you thought somebody and he was the kind of guy. He was a very shy guy. He was a very reserved guy. And when we seen him, we were like, "Whoa, man, what happened to you?" And he told us what happened. He said, man, he stopped at the service station to get his gas, to get his tank filled. You know, back then, when time you get your tank filled, you used to get all the accessories, the compliments of your oil, check your oil, check my tires, check my clean my window. He said every time he said something to the guys that had them fill his tank up, they got more riled up. They got more riled. And then, truth be told, they did some history. My lawyer did some good work, some history of the people, and so it found that they was involved with a militia and some racist groups that was Knights of Columbia that was created way up in somewhere up in the northeast or something. And so they had some history. Even some of the witnesses, the character witnesses that were around the place that he did his investigation work when brought him in a trial, they said they were very high, they were very strong racists, you know? And so they bust him up, beat him up real bad when and he tried to pull up out there and everything. Scraped his car. He had a brand new car. His father was a preacher and just buy him a new car. He was one of the only guys in our neighborhood that had used to get a new car. And they scrapped up the whole new car. Remember, now, it's 1974. He had a 1974 car. He had a 1974 Cougar. And one of the first kind came out with swivel seats. Because you can just swivel out and turn around. And it was, that was the bomb back in that era. He was a brand new car. And he was reserved. I used to be the guy that actually catch the women. I used to go talk and get the little girl for him because he was very shy. He was a football player, preacher's son, the kind. So he never had been out on the world in a sense compared to myself. And so that's how our relationship got being. We ride and go to the school and everything. That's how. But I was at the house when he came. And sometimes he said, sometimes mind your business. I wish I would have. I got in his business. So my part of destiny. And we ended up going out there. But the thing was, we supposed to go out there best. If it's been anything, I speak to the manager about the car being scraped because he had a big CB antenna. They broke broke down the CB antenna on what he was trying to get. I leave the exit the place and scratch his car all up. You remember that brand new car, scratched it all up, and it was a witness. They had that in testimony in the trial. It's kind of exciting. It's kind of overwhelming just to even try to give this up. I remember going to be times that it's going to come about that someone want to hear it at large because some people just think that in our culture, we're just out preying on being anti this, anti-white, and it's not that case at all. Some of my best buddies, my best friends from all cultures, before and after. So it wasn't that kind of case. But when I went in, I was supposed to be the mouthpiece to see the manager. But what happened, the manager was the father, and the father was the one that had to promote and advocate racism to his son as well. So it was in a family lineage. So it was like father, like son. So it was like when I go try to see the manager, I didn't even get a chance to get to the manager. I mean, I had a little weak line. And here's my line. I'll never forget. I practiced my line. I said, and I remember the day because I told in my testimony, I said, I came and said, my cousin had a little problem this morning out here, and I come out to see the manager about the damage. But who I was talking to was the person that initiated the damage, that initiated the fracas. They created the violence off top, the son. That's whose life I took, the son. And man, he broke. When I said what I said, he jumped up and look, he wasn't gonna never stop growing. I thought the guy was gonna be. I thought he had a thing called the Green Giant, the Jolly Green Giant. I thought he was gonna keep growing and growing and growing because he was doing the fixing the tire. When I went up to the gas pump and fearfully, I know it's getting sound at that age of my little voice and telling them way back then small. And I said, excuse me, I'm gonna speak to the manager about my cousin. Like I just told, man, he jumped up and first thing he said, and quote me, he said, "I'm tired of you effing niggas. I'm gonna kill one of you." Now I know he had him whoop Buddy real bad. Buddy whole side of favor grotesque. We hit him with the wiper thing. We had cleaned the window with, started hitting him with and everything. So called them squeezes. Back then he had the metal squeezes. And he said when he told him to clean the window, so he just went to hit the window, he just started hitting him in the face, So I was like, man, I ain't the one. I mean, to me, the fear factor guy said, boy, I'm not gonna be the one. I see how you and Jimmy was much bigger than me. He must stock and everything. I said, boy, you don't do me like that. So fear kicked in. I couldn't reverse. In my mind, I couldn't reverse. I looked back. Jimmy can't walk there with me. He hadn't ran. He ran. I guess because he had experience what was up there. Not knowing that it was 3, 4 young guys up in there, along with the father. The big service station right down that vein in Orlando. And it just broke. But we supposed to go there. The best thing would have been is if it all hell broke loose, we'll go to fisticuff. Because that's what he's doing back in the day. In that era, because remember that we integrated schools in Orlando in that era. I integrated schools in junior high school and Memorial Junior High. My 7th grade, we integrated schools. So we're going to do, we fisticuff. If it comes, so I had one car load went one direction, and we went the other direction. Another mistake I made in my life, but probably was destiny. And so we arrived before they arrived. But they was in Pinto, and they was the bigger guys, because I said they playing football in college, and they was 3-4 years old, 2-3 years older than me. So they had went and the other route. So they came and testified about it. So they watched the whole scene. Actually, they were character witness for me, because it was 3 of them in another car and 3 of us in the car with Jimmy. And another mistake I made, they tried to make premeditation, because I do law work. Apparently, that I went in that car, so that's why I tried to make premeditated design, because I went back in the same car. But I went in the car instead of using my car, my other co-defendant car, because we wanted to use the car to show the damage, and try to talk about the damage. So that's why we went in that car. But that was a part of this, I guess, and that's the mistake was made. And at that young age, I wasn't thinking that far. Wasn't thinking that, okay, let's not go in this car. But we had to go in the car to show the damage. And the father was part of it, because he said he testified that the father was the one that broke the CB antenna, and CB antenna was a real big antenna. That broke the CB antenna off and started scratching the car. So he was a part of it. And when they did the history of the father and the son, it showed that they was extreme racists. But I could. Then my sister told me about that, because she had an incident one time out there, and she came home crying, telling me about she had an incident, and I was one. She was all wrecked about it and everything, and she said the service station. And so some other witnesses came that from the neighborhood, whites, and said that they had a high profile racial concern. And so I just ran to one of those processes, and that's why I said when I beginning in this unexpected journey, I ran into extreme racism, and in our society in the South, I reap what you sow. If I put in a thought process is a negative, and then I went with a positive, went with a negative, but I went with defense. And guess what I'm gonna tell you right now? Some people don't know. I had one bullet. I had one bullet, and I could have had 6 bullets with the kind of gun I had. I had one bullet. And they said he probably would have lived again Dustin if he wouldn't have, back at that time, if the near hospital wasn't so far away, because he died en route. And the bullet the kind of gun that was used it's a small caliber gun, and the bullet just traveled. The bullet just traveled into his system, and it took him out. Because actually, I remember when I pulled out on the gentleman in fear, he wouldn't even stop. I don't know, was he that kind of guy? Because they had him billed as a scrapping Marine. They had him billed as a scrapping Marine. I never read in the paper. They had him as a scrapping Marine, heroic, this and that, the other, downplaying us, building them up. And so, because first tried to use the robbery thing, the robbery couldn't be the motive, so that come out because I had a few $100s way back then, which would be equivalent of $1,000+ right now in my pocket. So it wasn't a robbery; couldn't use the robbery. And so the process that what they had done, they downplayed that because it was a political year as well. Now that's when politics come out. I learned about politics, and the prosecutor was running. One of the attorneys was running for the prosecutor attorney at that time. And another case was out. Big case was out. Florida Fox case was out when he made a move with big bank robber. His case was in a place. So our case got downplayed because really we had one of the first cases of young blacks taking lives of other race or cultural races in the society. Because I know my father was always telling me, say, you're lucky you're not in the backwoods daytime. We probably wouldn't have made it. I probably would have made it out like that. So I was like, okay, that's here and there. Another part, that's something. I'm here, I'm alive, I got shot. And so it just unfolded to me like unexpected. I couldn't tell you how my life turned that morning unexpectedly. And what I did from there, just a little short brevity of what happened. A guy told me when I first went in, he said, because my case was kind of like on the state boat from Pensacola all the way to Panama to almost to Key West. My case, like killing me. So it was like a big thing. So when I got to prison, the guy told me, said, "Welcome to the university." He said, "Take advantage of this." He said, at the time now, I'm thinking I'm fighting. I've got 2 life sentences when I first started. I just missed death row. So I'm thinking, man, I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight. My family's fought. My father also, he lost his, had come home, lost one of his home, and trying to fight, putting them on defense for me, money and everything. I'm thinking, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to come out, because I thought I had a voluntary, I thought I had a 3rd-degree manslaughter, a voluntary manslaughter. And they convicted me at the best. They had 2nd-degree murder material at best.
Okay, so when you went to court, you was facing life?
I was facing death row. I had a capital felony. I was facing death row.
So you were facing death row.
2 murders, two capital murder.
So
Well,
did
two
you
called.
ever go on? Did they ever sentence you to death row, or they
No,
just?
did not. I ended up going to having being convicted in the jury, and they gave me the mandatory quarter, which was a substitute there at the time, which was a legal sentence, truth be told now, because the mandatory quarter came in when Florida had took the death row out as a substitute for the death row. But when they brought death row back in again, they did not abolish the mandatory quarter, which was a life sentence, with mandatory quarter. You got to do at least 25 years before you could be considered for parole. So they did not rescind that. That's one of the issues that's still on deck right now. Actually, I've done some work for some guys about that because it was a law twice Florida took the death row out and instituted when they first instituted the mandatory quarter, and it stayed. But when they took death row out in different politician years, when politicians got tough on crime, brought it back in, and changed the politicians and the political ticket, and then took it back out. But they never did take the mandatory quarter back out. But they also had the second degree murder, which was a life sentence, but they had the capital felony life, which was mandatory quarter, which I received. And so I did it. So in that time back then, I had got off the chart. When I say off the chart, I'm gonna be truthful. I had learned the way and the wiles of trying to survive because you remember, I had never been locked dead in my life. I had never been in a juvenile home. I had never been retained. My father, he was a disciplinary, so and my mother as well. So when you do wrong, you must spoil the child, spare the rod hot and spare the child, spoil the child. My mother, they put the rod on. So I understood that kind of discipline. So I had never been away from from my home. I've been incarcerated in that 1 minute. So when I went in, I faced the capital sentence off top. So it was a new life for me, and it was overwhelming. So when I got in, I had to learn how to survive in that jungle. And then
Okay,
back in that era.
So Jerry, basically, you were not like a problem disciplinary type juvenile boy. You was just
No,
trying to defend a cousin, and out of fear, you reacted and did what you did. It wasn't
right,
that
not
you was just doing
right.
a life of crime. That was not your cup
No,
of tea.
no, not at all. No, not at all. Not at all. Actually,
So
if
it was
you
just a
would,
situation turned bad for
like,
you trying to defend a family member.
well, I've had that go bad on me a couple of times after that. I've just trained because that's kind of family. That's I had that seed. I'm my father's son, and we kind of got that in our characteristic trait. We'll help other people quite 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 fast. You are looking at the situation and trying to look at options and alternatives of what should be the best decision. Maybe use proven judgment, be thankful you act and stuff. And especially like from a young age, like I said, that all blew out because I didn't think that they was that volatile out there. Now, when I understood racism, I seen apartheid, I seen the Jacksonville riots, I seen some scenes in Birmingham, I seen some stuff in my. I had never really had no personal experience of it personally. And then I said the thing I seen of the physical is when we forced integrated school with forced busing in my 7th grade. But me personally, I had never had to endure. Even when I went to New York and lived in New York, that was a change for me because I seen New York where culturally it was more. We had more space, we had more liberation, we had more opening, we had more pride. So when I was coming back to the deep south, I seen the difference, even from Georgia, where my stuff from Georgia, and then and then Florida, it was different. But yet I wasn't exposed to it because I had a very protected family, and in my familyhood, it was very protected. So we didn't get exposed to those type things.
Let me ask you this, Jerry, because I heard you say that you were sentenced to a life sentence, but after like 25 years or something like that, you can go up for parole. But why did you wind up doing 49 years?
uh, Being off the shot, just learning the environment, not being But another thing too, I'm gonna say this, and you can quote me, and then I say this because I'm a this platform somewhere down there. I'm gonna be pushing this platform because in Great America, and especially Deep South, in Northeast, you in California, out West, you probably a black man probably won't do, and that don't get me stake and quote me unquote with being he probably wouldn't do 40, 30 and 40, 50 years when he take a life of a different culture, especially when you talk about the Caucasian culture. Well, it's always a thought process that if you take a white man life in Deep South, you're gonna do 30, 40, 50 years. And if you look at the history, it's already been so. If you do the history of it, and surely you're gonna conquer some of the history I'm speaking of, you will see that the average black man, he take a white life in those Caucasians, he's doing 35 to 40 years.
That's true.
Yes, that's true. Thank you. Thank you. So, and I supplant that with this. Oh, if I say that not, and then I don't want to see sit here and be classified or thought as a racist because I'm not. And because I got quite a few good buddies and friends that'll tell you just different. Because I've had my neck and back out and stood up for very different cultures and ethnicities throughout my doing time. And so my mother used to work with white and take care of them. And I bring home, and she bring them home, tell me, take care of them, make sure nothing happen to them. Like, that era of that stereotypic mindset. I was like, wow, but I'm telling you, I've never had that concern.
Jerry, you was basically raised back in slavery days.
Yes, really. Yeah, that culture.
I was
We look at the
born
culture.
1974.
Right. So you got to look at the culture stance. That's and guess what? I should tell people, if I may say this, I'm a byproduct of my era. My case, my everything. I'm a byproduct of my era. Because you got to look at civil rights. You got to look at MLK. You got to look at the Black Panthers. You got to look at race riots. You got to look at free my people. You got to look at power to the people. I'm even go on and on with the slogans, the times, the politics, and then I'm a byproduct. From the time I was born, from the time I was come up, and even though my people protect, but once you step out into the world and put feet on ground, you're exposed to what's happening, especially if you got a consciousness of a cognitive to be able to perceive what's going on around you, then you can begin to see that it's going. Then the people are saying it. You get the right on, right on. Black power, black prideness. You know what I'm saying? And so now, if you're being abused, or you being trampled on, you're being downtrodden for whatever reason, you're being prejudiced or being biased for whatever reason, not a good reason, just because the color of your skin, the pigmentation of your skin, not the conscience of your character, then that come back and play. MLK come back and play. At that time, right, the guy just had a brand new car, went to get a service station, get his tank full. He took his brother's Disney to work, come back and fill his tank up. His right was that you supposed to do all the things back then that you did. Do my gas, check my window, and said, and that was it. And they stayed all the time. People said he kept saying, huffing and huffing and huffing and puffing that. And God forgive me for taking that, because if I had my choices, I could have thought of quite a few other things to do if I wanted to revenge that. If we wanted to revenge, I didn't want to go and take the man's life. It wasn't that serious for me. True, I'm telling you, it wasn't that serious for me. Even our relationship, he wasn't a cousin. It wasn't that his relationship with me wasn't that serious. Today, right now, I haven't heard nothing from him. He didn't do nothing for me. Actually, he testified against. He snitched on me. So then I went out. My life turned because of this guy's situation. Although I'm gonna use that he didn't twist my arm, but I stepped out with him and for him, and he left me, and then he testified against me. So I'm saying, and then having that did nothing for me to this day. But guess what? In my heart and mind, my grandma told me back in 1960, she said, you have to forgive that. She said, because it's support. She said hatred. She said, no, she said, she said, being bitter. That was her word. She said, being bitter. She used to come see me all the day. She said, being bitter is one of the worst poisons you could have in your life, especially in the situation you're in. And so I had to start saying, I'm going to forgive him. And I'm just telling you this now because I'm letting you know that the relationship I had with the guy, it wasn't so like that, man, I go die for you. I go kill for you. It wasn't that. Well, no, I would have not. If I haven't controlled my senses, not the fear factor came in, no sub buddy. And for 50 years, no sub buddy, you wouldn't got that. Everybody get that is my fam. And God forgive me right now, it would get hell for family to get that after what I went through that jungle.
You went in 18, you did
Yes.
49, so you 67?
No, I'm 68.
Ooh, boy, you look good.
With
I
grace of
tell
God.
people,
Grace of
prison
God.
preserves you.
And you know what a guy told me yesterday? I met a guy from Ghana, and he helped do something with my car. And he some secret approach. He helped fix the stuff in my car outside. So he told me. So I said, well, can I share my story? And sometimes the spirit lead me to share the story. So I was telling him some things I don't know about, and I tell him why. I said, well, and I told him why. And so some people expect you to know things because I haven't been in. I've been in the loop. I've only been out 8 months. So I was telling. I said, well, I've been out the loop and I've been outside. So he said, what you been? So I tell him and his wife was here, and I told him. He said, man, no, man, you not look. No, man, can't be. No way. And I always tell, I said, grace of God. I said, man. He said, what? Give me some numbers, because he want you to give him some numbers. I said, then he'll believe you may be fabricating or you already lying. I said, no, I said, I did that, and I be kind of like reluctant to say because I'm not. It's nothing that I'm worthy of. It's not a bad. I'm so sad of it. Look when I lost my family. The people lost their family. They didn't get a chance to live with their family, my family. So it's like it's nothing, but it's a reality. So when I tell it, it's so surreal. Some people like, no, you can't be. How old are you? I said, well, and that first thing I always say, I just throw my hands up, grace to God. I can't tell you nothing else. He bought me. He took me. He saved me. I dodged 18 bullets that morning. The guy shot a 20. He was shooting a 22. It says a 20, some kind of shot bullet rifle. And the other guy the other guy had some kind of pistol. And I dodged 18 bullets, and I only got shot in the back of my thigh. It could have been back of my head, could have been back of my spine, could have been anywhere. And so I'm here 50 years later and tell you, through the grace of God, I'm here.
Did your parents survive? Are your parents still living?
No, my parents left. My father and I had a great relationship, and I always say that his spirit died because of me. Because truth be told, I'm my father on the son, and I'm raised under. He was my biggest role model. My father, best because of my father. I work hard because of my father ethic. I try to keep some of my pocket because of my father ethic. Anything you want to call because of my father. My father was my role model.
Jerry, let me ask you this. Can you describe what daily life was like for you in prison?
From the beginning, it was like trying to search to understand the new world. And you asked the question, and I want to give this out to the people world that's here because you go into another side of a new world. It's like right now, if you and I went to space right now, we went to space. We never went to space, and we on one of these planets up there, trying to understand how to live up in the planet. We know what Earth does, but we're in another world. So it was like another world. So that's why some people say, how you doing the time? Man, I had did 20 years before I realized it felt like I did 5 years because it was going like that. Especially in the old school prison, in the old school era, it was going like that because I was still trying to evolve, I was doing everything. I was going to school, I was going to college, going to trade, doing everything. Like my father, I'm an 18, 19-hour kind of guy, and I was just doing it. Trying to work out, trying to stay in shape, doing all this stuff, even some of the things. And so before I know it, I done did like 20 years and these get conscious and I'm fighting my case. I end up beating one of the licenses in the 11th Circuit. Like I think it was like in my 15 years. They reduced one of my licenses. And so, but I could never get the other mandatory court off me. So I was still doing it to some numbers or to a regular license. So I was still going on. And so I was just participating into the new world, yet keeping hope alive, not never giving up. And guess what? Be frank or not, I was able to. My grandma just said, "Let me tell you something." My grandma told me. She told me this in about 1975, 76. She used to come see me from Jacksonville on the Jacksonville bus. A lot of people from Miami, a lot of people from Jacksonville was in big prison. That's the main people was in prison back Jacksonville, Miami. So they had a big bus come every weekend. So she told me, she said, we haven't done them. My grandma lived to be a 95. She come see me all the time. She said, God got people like you in places like this all over the world. Now, listen now, my life just real. I'm not trying to hear that, but I'm very respectful to my elders, especially my grandma, because I was her tight one. She said, "You're not listening to me. We right across the table in the prison eating dinner." No, she said, "Let me hear you tell you again." She said, "God got people like you in places like this all over the world." She even calls a couple of those countries. I mean, countries that you don't know about them countries. My mind was, you don't know about country, but I respect my guy. And she said, so I didn't grasp that then. No, it took me about 20 years or better to start grasping that when I started seeing all the men that I had helped encourage, make decisions, look up to me in my walkings, from suicide attempts to everything I seen. The first time I got to county jail after I left the hospital after 2 days being where I got shot. A guy was he was tipping the suicide in the cell. My first time ever being in a cell, old school cell block. I went under him and picked them up put them on my neck and lift them up instead of having enough their thought process to say, hey, somebody's waking people up. It was like 2 o'clock when I couldn't sleep. My whole life is real. My first night in jail, a guy trying to hang himself. And guess who he was? He was a white guy. He was a big young white guy. His lady, I found out from the jailer, his lady had just quit because he was finna go to prison. He ain't have 2 years. He had 2 years. And he was a big guy. So y'all see me, I made a bad decision. I almost choked myself. Cause my leg bandaged all up. I get up on him. I try to get him up here. I don't know how he got up there with the sheet and put the sheet around the neck. And all that, when I seen he was like blue and purple. And I'm amazed, but I reacted. Again, I reacted to help him. And I got up on him. And then when I got up on him and he on my neck, I'm trying to call the people that's sleeping in the cell about to come help me. I'm like, wow, they're thinking, why I ain't call them first and then try to get up on it. But I just reacted right away in the kind of way I'm built, where my family built, and where my DNA. I just tried to get up on him and bring him up, which I did bring him up. And he was a big guy. Back then, I must have been like 140, and he had to be almost 200. But through the grace of God, we saved him. And they moved him out. But I found out that he came to me and said he was 2 years. He had 2 years.
Did you see a lot of suicide attempts and shankings while you was in prison?
If I had to quote it, because I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm a convict. I'm considered that part. So I'm in. So if I had to be questioned, said, what do you see? I'll tell you general, yes, but I wouldn't tell you specifically what. But I'll tell you general, yes, because I got decades there. So that's why I seen it. It's a reality. Like you be on the street. If you're on the street in the culture, in a certain part of the culture, you're gonna hear and see a lot of shootings. So naturally, the era I come in and being real, yes, I did.
How did you change or evolve during your time in prison? Or what was your turning point? The moment where you said, well, you know what? I've outgrown this, I'm tired of this, and there was a turning point.
That's a great question. And I thank you for it, because it's a reflection that I had to sit back and look and think when I thought many times subconsciously as well. I concentrate on the thought process, and it's deep, because you talking about a guy that did 50 years. When did you change it? Even if I had to write the book and had to put it on paper, it'll come different times. It came in and out because people had expectations of me. I am being the president of the Galva Club, a couple of institutions. I got to be in leadership in this here. And these type of things had in my mind. You got to watch what you're doing. You got to be watching this here. But I got caught up. This was a new world for me. This was now my new lifestyle. So now I'm caught up. Just having needle, they say that's a metaphor we use as an example. The needle was in my arm. Like I had it. The needle was in my arm. Now I got caught up being incarcerated. And truth be told, my monkey was on my back. In that sense. But then it kept in my other subconscious, my parallel, my prayer life, my faith life, so many people praying for me, My mother, she kept people praying for me up with all kind of churches, all kind of places, and people I'm talking, writing, speaking. And so my mind, I straddled that fence. And guess what the Spirit kept telling me? If you want to leave this place, you got to get your mind right. You got to let one or the other go. And I started, they got the saying, you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Surely you've heard that phrase, that phraseology. And I was tired, but I didn't get sick and tired, but I was getting tired and weary. And so
I understand.
You know what I'm saying? So it went that, and then another thing, even my people's getting on me, because my people like, we tired. We're tired of being incarcerated. We're tired of being locked, because they're men a lot. They got to keep coming up here and going through the process of visiting me. They got to go through the process that their livelihood being cut short, because they can't. We ain't going over because we got to go see Jerry. Or we ain't got this. All those things that go along with that. Oh, we got to send this. We got to do this, and all that process. So all that was there to play with me, because I was conscious of that, because I'm a very conscientious person about anybody that's maybe assisting me, anybody that may be impeding their pathway in their life, their livelihood. So all it was coming to place that, man, you need to get better this year. But I was caught up. Ain't no if, and, but about it. That's how you end up doing. Guess what I said? I probably should have been out. Maybe in my 35th, 36th, 37th year. Strong possibility.
Wow.
I had the resource, I had the tools, I had the resources, I had the academic type things, I had the progressive positive type thing, but I was caught up in the element of the game room, just like on the street. I had my hand in it, and it was all on me. And I can't sit here and deny it. No, because it cost me some more time. And I don't know, somebody said, well, you're dusting. I keep hearing dusting, because some people say you got a journey in your life, and you won't get around your journey, regardless what you say, man say, or what you say you do, or you believe you try to do. You have a destiny, and your destiny is going to be fulfilled one way or the other.
Back then, did you guys have gain time? Like, you be good, you gain extra time, go home early?
It wasn't beneficial for me. It just accumulated because I had a mandatory.
exactly. How did you get out then? Because you had a mandatory life sentence. So how did you get out? Was it parole?
I like to think now, not egoing, and I think thanks to God and saying that B's the power to be that I believe in too. That I finally passed. I kind of did my due diligence and in serving time. Then I woke up and found in reality that, man, this is enough. You better work the program and work the program where it's supposed to be worked. And some people said play the game. Well, I won't say play the game because it wasn't no game. My life's at stake. Yeah, my longevity is at stake. I'm here today to say, man, I'm here because I got real with it. I got real with it. And so I had to wake up, smell the coffee, and I'm not really a coffee drinker, but smell the coffee, as they say, actually, and get right with it and get on course, man. Because another thing now, I began to helping other people get out. You know, I was doing law work. I was inspiring people that had a little time to get their life right. And they was calling back, they talked to me, they write me, tell me, my man, so good. So I was like, man, I got to go. I got to get out of here. If I don't get it right now, man, I'm gonna die up in the spot.
Were you paroled?
Yes, I was parole. I got into the
Okay,
program. I got in the CTP program. And that was
that's
back
what's up.
that was inadvertent. That was inadvertent. I was trying to transfer to another spot, and they end up and I said, Dustin, I said, Dustin, there don't be some people be something accidentally happened. No, and God put me, he allowed me to get down to Everglade. And I always told myself, I said, if I get to Everglade, I'm gonna get into that program because the parole commissioner was the only one putting you in the program. You couldn't get in the program just because you want to get down to the camp and get in. But I told myself, I said, if I could get to Everglade, I'm gonna get in that program. And I thought between you and somebody say we don't use the word deserve because you took life. Some say I for I two for two, but I earned getting in there and I married there. I thought I married getting into the program, not married being pro. I married getting into the program, and I went down there and because I was trying to go to Central Florida. I'm from Atlanta. My transfer from my Panhandle was to go to Central Florida. They dropped me off in Mayo but some of the readjustment they use security adjustments to security adjustment, and because nobody wanted to get a mail, so they forced the people to mail, and so I took off like really I'd like throw the rod almost. But my better judgment said, well, I'm gonna file against it. I'm gonna tell my clarification when I got said, man, I'm gonna file this, man. My good judgment judgment told me I was gonna be in 3 camps that was approved for me in Central Florida. So I could be around my mother and be around my family and everything. And that wasn't happening. So the man said, he told me, just how I got, he said, listen, he said, just go work in the law library. He said, I got you. He was a very clarification. He said, working in the law library. He said, I got you. He said, I'm gonna try to get you to the Everglade program. He said, you don't do enough time. Yes, I said, why? He said, you don't do enough time. He calmed me down a little bit. He said, I got you. And then he told me, he told me there's got 8,000 people on the list. He said, I'm telling him, I'm like, man, I am not going to get that 8,000 people. Man, I was gone in 6 months. I stayed in Mayo about 6 months. I went through I went through a little process. But number one thing, one out of four black men deal with prostate cancer. I had a biopsy down there, did a prostate situation. Like God bless me, they put me right there. I went to outside Jacksonville Memorial Hospital, did a biopsy, everything. I was cancer free. That process, and I came back through that. And like a month later, actually I still had a medical hold on. And when transfer came through to go to Everglade, the doctor had forgot to clear me on the medical hold, so I couldn't go then. And I stayed a little while longer, and then I went to Everglade, and we're going to Everglade. I started trying to get right, and I'm trying to get right then. And I saw him just, I think God started putting in place for me. He said, he kept speaking to me, and he said, "This is your time." Just like the Spirit growing to. He said, "The Spirit growing to." He said, "This is your
Right.
time. You better listen and get right." Now, bear your mind, this 2020. It's 2020. I didn't buy in right then.
Right.
I'm still caught up with the prison hustle. I'm still caught up with trying to be, living on top of inside the wire. Stuff I was used to, you know, living above, the means. So make sure. So I mean, that called doing things that's not really that's illicit and everything. So, but I had started reducing and reducing that thought, the action, the process. Like, I got to stop it. I got to get right. And I started praying over it. I started praying over it. I started living it, trying to live it, and it started coming to play. It just started bearing fruition. And I got into the program. And I seen the pro people, and they bear. And actually, when I first had my hearing in 2020, they recommended me. The investigator came to the institution recommended. Yet when they got to Tallahassee Commission, I never get my sister. My sister went there. She said the person said they said when it opened up for the agenda for my name, he said no change. Man said one of my sisters said she almost had a heart attack. Said no change. I had told him that the investigator had came to through, said, man, he gonna recommend me for the CTP program. And going to the CTP program was like, it propels you out to where I'm at today to get out. And then said the Mr. I never forget, say the commissioner said, Mr. Davidson, said, Mr. Davidson said, I overrule, I object, and I recommend CTP. And said my sister said she almost just jumped out of, like, she's like her hair came out, her wig came out, everything come out.
Okay. Now, Jerry, what were the biggest challenges you faced while incarcerated?
Learning how to do time, learning how to do time in the initial, you know what I'm saying? You know, trying to fit it, because I'm just this type of person. My father taught me three things, and I've gave this speech a few times about it. He gave me three L's as a kid. He said, do what children do. He said, look, listen, and learn. That's the three L's. Look, listen, and so that's what I engage myself in. And you may think I'm very loquacious, very talkative here. Some people say I am. I'm very expressive. Yeah, but when I'm in my moments, I'm very reserved. I'm actually, you'll think I'm maybe an introvert because I look, I'm quiet, I'm listening, I'm trying to understand. And so through my early years, that's what I did. You know, if you weren't in my immediate circle, and back then it was like most of homeboy, because homeboy was a big thing back then. It done lost its originality now and its genuineness. So it's not. But back then, homeboys was original. So if you weren't in that my real circle, close circle, then I'll open up. I just stay to myself. I read. I just watch myself. I exercise. I do that part. I get my program. So it was that part. It was my beginning part and how to learn this time, because I didn't want. I see what I was facing, and I wasn't believing that I was going to be here this time. I could never told you that I was going to be in prison past 20 years, 15, 20 years, way back when.
Let me ask you this, Jerry, who supported you the most during your time in prison?
Let me give inside the prison. Okay, so external. Let me give you how it goes. And I gave this speech to the CTP FIU students, for International University on my way out. And remember this, and you already gave you this here. The 5 F's, the equal freedom: faith, family, friends, fortitude, and focus. And the last, equal freedom. No last two you can change. But your first three: faith, family, friends. And again, fortitude and focus, you're going to change those, equal freedom. So that's what I had, my family. I'm raised with family. And so I always had family. Even as they start demising, but my extended stay, I always had family. You know, I have a sister right now that's been with me forever from day one. Even when I had little delinquency, when I started having, she been with me. She babysitted me. She was my surrogate when my mother worked 2, 3 jobs. You know, she's been with me from day one. Anything I get, she got. I'm talking. If I don't have nothing, if she says she needs it, she's gonna get it. You know, she's gonna get it legally. I mean, she'll get it legally. She'll get it.
So, Jerry, what has the transition back into society been like for you?
Challenging yet, but guess what? Wanting the design, all those minutes, nights, days, hours, seconds, minutes of wanting to be here, dreaming to be here. You know, the untold visions of being here. The challenge of it is just that. And some people talk about acclimating to the new technology. Well, okay, give or take the tech, because I know people that have been here and I've heard them tell. I've been here all over, but I ain't never left the street. But I don't master the technology. You know, they don't master the technology. So I thought, see, once I get that from people, I know, okay, so he didn't master that. I don't have to master that to be free, to maintain acclimation. You know what I'm saying? I got to have a good work ethic. God give me a blessing to still be able to do some of the things like that. Still be hungry to be and preach. One thing I think our program give us in CTP is they call it gratitude. You write 3 gratitudes in a proud moment every day in your journalize. You journalize that the whole time you're in the program. Sometimes we regret, but then I appreciate it and I love it what it did for me, because it gave you altitude. And I always had altitude gratitude. I've never been a guy that was a negative. I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optimist. So I always, every time I wake up, every morning I woke up all my life, I can remember from prayer, thank God I'm alive. And where my feet planted, my grandmother said, where it will. And she's always giving me that. She says, baby, wherever God plants your feet, where it will. And my father had 2 words for me. He told me, son, and it's 3 words: son, be strong.
They always told me to bloom where you're planted.
And when you're playing it, it's synonymous with what I just gave you. It's
Yep.
metaphorically the same. It's a metaphorically the same, and that's right. So and then another she used to tell me. It's how I think it's Thessalonians. And it was saying like you said, be thankful for all things. So let me
In
tell you, my
all
grandma,
things.
the whole thing.
For
My
it's the
grandma,
will of God for your life.
yes, but she told me she said be thankful. So guess what I did? So it took me a while to grab. I wrote that in my Bible because I had to read my Bible. I started reading Bible like all year, every year I do the whole Bible. So I wrote that when I find it, but I didn't gravitate there for a while. But it said, be thankful for all things. Because listen, I could have been dead any day, anytime. Yet he had gave me, I was blessed, I was down, I was pointed, I was knowing what the spirit of livelihood, with the spirit of optimism, with the spirit of breeding. And so I actually a positive spirit. I'm not really a negative guy. So that carried me. And those same fruits that I had, he ignored me. Like I said, Grandma said, God got people like you in places like that. I passed that on to other people. Because I met thousands of people I probably wouldn't have met because the forcement of the confinement around me. And so I was able to affect that mindset with other people that may carry on. You ain't got but 5 years. You talking about I do 5 years, throw in my head. I just
Right.
meet people tell me you crying about 2 years and 3 years, man. I did 10, I did 15. What's your issue?
What are your aspirations and goals now that you're free?
Pay it forward. Pay it back, pay it forward. I just do that. Yesterday, I just went to the rehab home. I go to rehab home in conjunction with St. John Cathedral. I go Cathedral Church. I go out to rehab and I speak. I speak with the elder. I'm a big brother right now. It's on my plan to be a big brother. Never had children. Never has the. I said I want to adopt a child, or if I say I'll come too far, maybe. So I'm a big brother. I do that. I did Big Brother Sad. I took my little short, little dude out, man. We played ball and we went took him out to eat and stuff like all that. Then I'm looking now to go and network into some programs where I can speak and get a platform.
What are your final messages or thoughts that you would like to leave with the audience?
Oh, first of all, I want to thank the inner listening ear that's attending to what I may have said, and I want you to take it as genuine. What I want you to tell you, be thankful for whatever you may have in the space that you have it in, and never ever give up and give in. You may give out, but my favorite was don't give up and don't give out. There's always a situation that's worse than yours. So just stay the course. Be strong.
Amen.
Amen.
Now, one of the things I like to do, because I always like to acknowledge God in all my ways, because He directs our path, I like to always pray out. So I would like for you to do us the honor of praying us out.
It'd be a privilege to pray out with all heads bowed and all minds on focus. Heavenly Father, we just want to give you the grace and the gratefulness that you've given us to be able to have a moment of sharing and caring for the things in our life that we take for granted. And first, most and foremost, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to voice out the message that very possibly I pray may help supplant someone's heart and mind in a different direction than a negative direction. And I want to just give you the glory that you so deserve because you bought me after all those years and you allowed me to be the man I've become, that I may make a change direction for another person, he, she, young or old. And Father, that I may be able to be strengthened by the things you allowed me to become and things you allowed me to do. And I want to thank you right now, Father, that if there's anything I can do to make a difference in any life, just one life, Father, lead me in that spirit and in that path. I pray this, I ask this, and I believe and receive this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Let me ask you this. Do you have any desire to be married or date or have kids of your own?
No, I have a desire to find my helpmeet, and I pray that. And because I had played some games with women in my life coming in into the process, I promised myself I'll never play with no one else's feelings in my life, especially at this mature state. Amen.
Well, it's been a pleasure. And I'm so glad you took the time out to speak with us and share your story. I pray that God keep his hand on you, that he restore back to you the years that the cankerworm, palmer worm, and caterpillar has taken for you. We know God is a God of restoration, and I believe he can do exceedingly abundantly above all that we may think or act according to the power that's in us. And I believe that you have the power and that God is going to give you double for your trouble. God is going to open up the windows of heaven and pour you out blessings you don't have room to receive. So get ready. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. And I want to thank you for the opportunity. And I'm going to tell you, it's in season. You know, I get out of Ecclesiastes, and there's a time and place for all seasons. I gave opportunity to speak on that. That's one of my favorite. And this is the season, it's time and place. I waited for this opportunity. I had a couple other, but it wasn't ready. The time wasn't right. You know ourselves, you're a witness that we really could not get it to this right time and to right. Because know what? It wasn't yet God's timing.